Let's talk about how you start losing friends the moment that you stop being nice. In this video, I really want to talk to the person who is at that inflection point of realizing that being nice is not serving them, nor is it serving the people that they're in relationship with. I remember back in 2022 and 2023, I was deep in therapy, and a thing that continued to come up with my therapist was, Brianne, why are you overgiving and essentially putting other people's desires, wants, and needs in front of your own? And I think growing up, I shared in an earlier video, but I spent a lot of time trying to fit in. I spent a lot of time trying to be liked and to earn people's approval. Granted, a lot of this was due to the fact that I wasn't only in many of my social settings, scholarly settings, literally everywhere I was besides my own home and family gatherings. I was typically an only, if not one of the onlys. And that really created something in me where I felt as though I had to earn people's love and people's friendship and people's care. And that went all throughout elementary school, middle school, high school, college. Now, those same people I met along the journey who were used to the nice Brianne, the one who would put their needs above mine, the one who would say yes even when I meant no, the ones who I was there for emotionally in ways that I probably should have pushed them towards a therapist or encourage them to seek professional help needed. Those are the same friends that had to navigate this change and this shift that I had internally, where I realized that this whole people-pleasing notion, this is not biblical. Like, God tells us to be kind. Kindness is one of the fruit of the Spirit. Nowhere in the Bible does it say you need to be nice to a point where you are essentially compromising the love, the care, and the needs that you have for the sake of other people. And so the first big thing that I want to address is that if you are going through a transition right now, whether it's your therapist, whether it's your close friends and family, whether you've identified it within yourself, where you are burnt out of being the people-pleasing nice friend, I need you to know that there will be people that you will have to leave in that season and that version of yourself. My therapist talked to me about this in terms of calling it a pruning season, where the unhealthy relationships where people were dependent on me more than they actually loved me, people who were using me instead of actually reciprocating that love and care and pouring back into me, those people were going to be met with a very different Brianne, where the kindness at the center, at the core, will still be there, but me essentially saying no to myself, saying no to the things that I wanted for the sake of them feeling loved, was no longer going to be in the equation. And the first point, as I was saying, is that being nice is about gaining approval, but being kind is truly about being in alignment with your values, in alignment with the values that you desire to see in other friends, and also in alignment with the things that you know that God is putting in your path going forward, and like being aware that, is this person actually adding value or helping me along the journey in a similar way that I'm helping them? I think that we can oftentimes get caught up with, like, love your neighbor as you love yourself, being a selfless person, yes. But if you are pouring in ways that you're actually out of alignment with your values, or giving so much that you have nothing left for yourself, how are you then expecting to be able to be a blessing to other people in true ways that are in alignment with what God's will is? I think sometimes when we are desiring this approval, it leads to us doing things that we never wanted to do in the first place, but we knew that it was going to make that other person happy. So that is point number one, that there's a level of seeking people's approval, which is aligned with people pleasing, that is ingrained in the reality of being nice instead of being kind. The second thing that you need to be aware of when you are in the transition from being the nice friend to being the kind friend is that some of your relationships may have been built on over-functioning. And what I mean by that is you always being the planner, you always being the therapist, you always being the emotional regulator, you always being the one that's just a phone call away, even when you genuinely do not have it in you. I think that we are all graced with certain capacity, and that is something that if you are operating in alignment, that shows up as kindness, where maybe you do have capacity to plan because that's just what you love to do. But when you are at a point where that is not reciprocated, whether, of course, like if you are the planner, then, and like that's your zone of genius, you can't really expect other people to be that person. But how are they showing up for you when it's your birthday? How are they showing up for you when you're going through it? Are you only seen as a strong friend that will be there for other people, but the same type of support and care is not reciprocated when you're going through it? I think that is something that I really had to identify, was like, wait, I was so used to just being everything for many of my friends that until I was in therapy, I didn't understand that I was doing too much. And when I started to reel things back and started to rebalance, the healthy friendships, like they actually leaned in and they were like, okay, Brie, I see you. When I started to share like, hey, I actually do need support in these areas, they were like, good, like I'm glad that I'm actually able to support and be there for you. Now, on the flip side, the friends where I was like, hey, I understand, like I realize that this is how I've shown up in the past, but this is the season that I'm in and this is the capacity that I have. The ones where the friendship was built on a healthy foundation, we adjusted, we had the conversations, and we moved forward. The ones where our relationship was built on an unhealthy foundation, those relationships crumbled and they are no longer. And this is something that like you can never be ready for friendship breakups. You can never be ready for the emotional turmoil that comes with your pruning season. But if you are asking God to reveal to you who is for you and who is not, if you know that you were at the brink of breakthrough and you realize that he is not expecting for everyone to come with you, and you're praying like, God, show me who is meant to come with me and who is not, know that he will show them to you. And some of it will be just natural, like, you know, we just naturally grew apart. Others may be very hard and challenging friendship breakups, like strong cutoff, never talking again. Those are not fun, but it just comes with the territory. So that's the second thing, is that when you do acknowledge and communicate that you may have been over functioning, know that the healthy relationships will be able to withstand, and those where the relationship was heavily based on you being available and you being like their everything, like know that they likely will not prevail. So that's number 2. The third thing is that boundaries will expose who actually loves you versus who needs you. And I think this kind of goes into what I was just sharing, in that when you are like, hey, this is what I have capacity for, I'm going to have to say no to, for example, part of the time when I was in intensive therapy, if you will, it was also the same time frame where we were getting married. And there were some people who I had had conversations when I was in my nice friend era, where I was like, yeah, I'm gonna invite all these people. And mind you, this was also before I realized how much weddings cost, and before my husband and I were truly able to identify the feel and the intimacy that we wanted in our wedding. But there were people who I had to say, hey, I know that we talked about you coming to the wedding, but Darian and I truly had time to sit down, identify like how many people, we're actually going to be inviting from our family, which was more than half of the people at our wedding. but 2, what we actually have financial capacity to pay for. And similar situation, as I mentioned earlier, there were some people who were like, girl, I understand. Like, I'm just happy for y'all getting married. I'll definitely still send a gift, and, looking forward to seeing the pictures on Instagram. Now, other people, after I told them that we had a shift in our plans and that we weren't going to be able to actually send them an invitation, never heard from them again. And that's fine. Like, I think that God will reveal to you who is for you and who is not. One of the big things that I had to learn in my late 20s is that everyone is not for you, but you also are not for everyone. And that is very sobering as a recovering people pleaser, but it is a truth that will allow you to truly ensure that you are, like, you're actually working towards alignment with people. You're working towards becoming who you truly are so that you can identify the people that you actually want to surround yourself with. And while, that it may hurt other people that you are setting these boundaries, or that you're like showing up as oh wait, Bree used to always be available. Like, she literally would drop everything for me, and now she is acting as if she's changed. And yeah, like, well, we're not supposed to be staying the same decade after decade. Like, I think that there's a reality where people who are brought along on the journey of your evolution will see various versions of you, and they will love you through each of those versions. And maybe you may not be as active, or maybe you may not be as available, but the love still remains. When you link up, it's still all love. When you hop on FaceTime and y'all been rapping for an hour plus, catching up, like, it's all love. And that is I think that's one of the grounding realities of my late 20s, was really acknowledging and taking a step back to observe who chose to still stay along the journey as I was going through these transitions, as I was moving across the country, getting married, like, buying a house, like, all of these things where it's like, these are really big life changes. And again, the relationships that were built on healthy and sturdy foundation will sustain the changes, both around you when it comes to life changes, but also within you as you are maturing and as you are evolving into the person that God has called you to be. So there were 2 questions I always had on my wall, probably since like 2022 when I was in therapy. It was, God, what are you revealing in me? And then, God, what are you revealing in that other person? And the third question was, God, how do you want this relationship to look going forward? Because at the end of the day, He is the orchestrator of all of our friendships, of all of our relationships. And we are meant to serve a purpose. I believe that we are meant to serve a purpose in all of our relationships. Some of those purposes are meant to be served for a short period of time. Some, it's a lifetime. And as we evolve and we change, I think it's very important for us to ground ourselves and realizing that, like, we are simply vessels of God's love. We are vessels of God's kindness. And it's important to continue to stay anchored to that truth and to stay anchored to the reality that it's all your choice, God. Like, if this is the totality of what the friendship was meant to be, like, let your will be done. And I pray that I can move forward in love and in truth. And I pray that you continue to be there for the person that is on the other side of this purging season. So, well, let me say that again. I pray that you can be there for the person who is on the other side of this relationship where we are parting ways. And that, I'll leave you with one last thing. I think that in the seeking of approval and wanting to be everything to people, I also acknowledged that I was operating out of like a God complex that I was not meant to be operating out of. There are certain things that only God can heal in our friends and family. There are certain traits that only God can remove from, well, certain unhealthy traits that only God can remove from how we operate, how our friends operate. And to try to play God in friendships serves nobody. It's actually hindering His ability to truly show up. When you remove yourself from being that person, they then need to actually lean on God. Like, maybe they'll go to other friends, but they'll realize that they can't find in other friends what only God can do in them. So that's all. So if you are currently in the transition period of going from being the nice friend to being the kind friend, I will leave you with the 3 points again. The first one being that being nice is all about seeking approval, but being kind is all about seeking alignment. The second point was that some friendships are actually built on over-functioning. And then my last point was that boundaries will expose who loves you versus who needs you. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow.